Great day, great day. Happy Friday, everyone. Super elated to be here. Very thankful to be part of you all's day. I want to interrupt it a little bit because myself here, if you're coming here for the first time, don't be afraid, don't be shy. Go ahead and share where you are calling from or where you're chiming in from. I'm here in the beautiful part of Tampa Bay, Florida. And yes, and Trasetta, definitely share with them where you are at right now as well.
I am in North Florida in Tallahassee, so we're probably a little bit chillier than you are down there in Tampa.
It pretty much is. I actually like the weather today. It is
Me
a little
too.
bit chilly outside the norm for us as well, but hey, I'm open to that. It gives me permission to wear long things that I'm. It's been in my hidden parts of my closet, and so I'm happy that I'm able to pull out some sweaters and long sleeves these days. So yes, listen, everyone, we're not going to hold you all long. I've been listening and keeping my ear to the ground when it comes to. By the way, do you all believe that it's about? I can't believe it's about 6 weeks left, if not less, remaining for 2022. I want you all to start forming. Yes, right. It got me shaking my head too, Trasetta. I want you all to really kind of fine tune and kind of dive in more deeper because I'm hearing from you all. I'm listening. I know it may be a bit ongoing or common, but there's still a lot of roadblocks when it comes around forming goals. Yes, 2023 is literally around the corner. Why wait to set your expectations for the new year when it arrives when you can do it now? And so that's what we're
Absolutely.
going to chime in on how to break those limitations and boundaries and really disrupt your current circumstances by building upon those goals and most importantly, tackling them one at a time. I am a firm believer as to take one goal, do reverse engineering, and where do you go from creating that goal? Give you an example. I know when I speak with high performers, I disrupt their day and say, hey, you know, whether you enjoy your current position or not, or the company that you are, have you taken the time to map out what your career goals look like? And he's like, you know what, Ruth, that's a great question. I haven't really given myself time to know what my next chapter looks like in my career. I just don't know. What example would you kind of share? Because I know you're huge on goal settings, Trasetta.
I
That's up your
am.
alley.
Yes, that's one of my geek out areas because that's it's part of productivity, right? So, I'm totally all about the goal setting. You said share an example.
Yes, kind of share with them how would they be able to roll out that red carpet. Number one, saying they want to say, I want to get promoted, I want to upgrade or up level my career, but just not sure on how. That's good. They have the idea and they feel that nudge that they want to promote themselves, but they don't want to go with it in the wrong way. How
Right,
would we kind
right.
of align them and making sure they are properly setting that expectations and realistic, obtainable way to getting to reach that next
Okay.
higher end position or that goal?
Yeah, so you talked about reverse engineering, which is one of my love words. That's one of my sexy words. Um, but that's exactly what I would tell them to do. Really start, but like once you have identified what you want, what that role is that you want, um, I would say go talk to someone in that role and find out what their path was, right? Your path doesn't have to necessarily mirror their path, but if you talk to two or three people, not just one, two or three people, and find out what their pathway was to get to where they are, that can help you to start to build your own path, right? You can reverse engineer. Okay, well,
Exactly.
they did went from their current, the role that I'm currently in, they did this and then they tic-tacked over here and whatever. And I think I want to go this path as opposed to that path, right? Because there's always multiple routes to get to the same destination. Now, of course,
Absolutely. I agree.
sometimes sometimes it's going to take a little bit longer. If you go one route over another, it may take you a little longer, but it may be more beneficial for you. It may be something that you enjoy more rather than going, one way or another. For example, let's say you want to become a CEO, or maybe you want to become an executive officer. So not necessarily a CEO, but you want to be a chief financial officer. And right now you're kind of a an accountant, or one of the account specialists type thing, right? Maybe you have a um, desire or an interest in contracts and grants, or dealing with contracts. And one way may be to do something that's more focused on like accounts payable, accounts receivable side of things. You can go both directions, but you would prefer to do so maybe you take the contracts and grants pathway and circle back around, as opposed to the pathway that the other person took, which is to go into like accounts payable, accounts receivable. I'm making this up because that's not that's not my
No,
that's
I'm
not my
checking with you. And so, how
but
was that? Because I like the idea that you shared as far as start to connect with those who are already in your potential roles. And I would highly suggest where are they hanging out at? Obviously we're here on LinkedIn, right? Obviously, right? But how do you make those approaches? That's differently. That's a whole different title. That's a whole different conversation. But the game plan is, at least I do need to start connecting with peers and other like-minded
Mhm.
professionals who are already in that path.
Yeah.
And
And I
what
would
else?
start in your
Yeah.
company. You like start with the people that you already know. Start with the people who are in the organization where you work, because also chances are they have influence with leadership. So if you have those conversations with them and they are aware, they know that that's what you desire, then when opportunities come up, they can start to name drop for you. Now, they may not necessarily tell you that's what's going on, but they will start to say, hey, so and so, I've been talking to Jane over here, and she really has an interest in her pathing her career to this type of role. I think she would be a great asset to move into this next level role, or to promote her into this role. Right. So really start in your circle. That's going to have the most impact for you.
I like that. And so, even kind of even taking a little bit of a step back as to why you're establishing your goals, what where are you at mentally? Where's your mindset, first of all? Because number one, if you're maybe frustrated because you kind of want to center yourself when it comes to creating that path to even establish those goals. Because
Mhm.
especially if you maybe had a rough start in your day, or perhaps a conversation went left with your peers or your manager, and then here I go asking you, hey, what's your career goals, your career plan? Well, you know what? This is a perfect time to say, I don't even like my job and I just want to move on forward. Where I'm getting at is, you want to make sure you're centered. Number two, before you start exercising in networking, before you even start even associating yourself with people within your internal company or within your internal doors, I want you to ask yourself, assuming that you're you're pretty much in the path of where you like to go, as far as maybe you're in HR. And now you're saying, well, Ruth, I'm in HR and I do have a vision of wanting to accelerate in my role, but just not sure how. I want to challenge you first by making sure that you're clear in remaining some of the old habits, or just certain conditions that you may have been accustomed to. Maybe perhaps thinking, well, I've been doing the same HR generalist role for the first maybe past 5 years. I don't believe that my background, maybe because it's limited when it comes to education, maybe because I feel like I have lack of certifications, I don't see myself moving forward outside what I am today. So that considers a mindset.
Mhm.
So tying in with your goal setting, you want to at least give yourself grace to saying, well, what's holding you back? What's really in the way, if we're truly being honest?
Yeah.
Am I do a brain dump, do a full inventory of your wealth. when it comes to your tool house, what your experience already weighs you on, not what you don't have. So once you feel comfortable and you believe that, you know what, you're right. Although I may have 5+ years, although I may not have my certifications in certain areas, whereas my peers do, because I go and I'm networking with them and they're saying, well, I got my certifications. Does that mean that you have to get your certification? No. Is it helpful? It can be, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to limit you from going higher in
Yeah,
that role,
I agree.
right?
Yeah, I agree.
I would definitely think, setting yourself expectation, moving some of the barriers that you've been maybe accustomed to, and giving yourself grace to seeing, okay, what do I have? How can I unlock that? And maybe having a partner outside of self and getting with resources, even if it's not with me or with Trasetta. I highly do recommend on how to get those alignment in terms of just getting that crystal clear roadmap before developing those goals, because you may have internal limitations thinking you may not be able to fulfill that goal.
Mhm.
Go ahead and comment in the comments if this is making sense, if this is resonating with you, if this is helpful. And what I would definitely recommend with you to do, and then you can definitely chime in, Trisette, and let me know if I'm missing anything, is what unique way of understanding how to create that goal is where definitely look at where you want to go first. What is your desire?
Absolutely.
Like, once you know where you're wanting to go, because if you're not clear there, take time with self. Find out what you're really passionate about, what you're really great at. Do like a brain dump on, put a column saying, well, I really do love collaborating. I do enjoy maybe doing some analytical, or maybe perhaps I'm really great at employee relations if you're in HR, or perhaps you're really great on the technical piece, where on the back office you find joy in fixing all the bugs and
Mhm.
trying to make things more seamless and more on the automation side. But before you even do all that, where do you want to go? After you realize, I'm really great at this part of the area and function of my role, but I'm just unsure on how to get there. How would you help them expand on that goal? Once they know their goal is, okay, I do want to go ahead and be that next CEO, or I want to be that next, senior HR business partner, or just even, how would you recommend them to even give themselves grace on just tackling one goal at a time?
Yeah. I actually, that's one of the things, I'm glad that you said that, because that's one of the things that I really recommend is focusing on a very limited number of goals, 3 at the max, 2 maybe. And if you don't mind, I actually have a resource. Um, and I want to kind of pull from this workbook that I created in 20. I did this in 2020, or just at the end of 2019. It's called Vision 2020. It's a whole vision and goal strategic planning
Yes, yes,
workbook.
definitely share that. Who is this going to be helpful for you all? Would y'all like to see in the next couple of minutes here how she's going to roll that out? Awesome. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and it's available on Amazon. You can just go. You can just search for it. It's. I will say I I've gotten divorced since I published this, so it's under my married name. But you see the cover, so just look for this. But one of the things that I want to point out that I have you do in the workbook is first, right? Like Ruth was saying, you got to know where you're going. If we were to set out on a road trip, I'm in Florida. Both Ruth and I are in Florida. If we wanted to go to California, or we wanted to go on a road trip, we first need to decide where we're going. You don't just get in the car and say, I'm going on a road trip, because you have to count up the cost. You need to know what your destination is. How long is it going to take you to get there? How much financial resources do you need to get you there and back? Or, how long do you plan to be gone so you have the appropriate amount of clothes? So there's a certain amount of planning. If you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there?
Come
Right.
on,
So
come through with that. So having a crystal
yes,
clear roadmap. I love that,
yes. So you
because
need the
writing the
vision.
vision and making it plain. So tell
Yes.
me more. I'm even curious because this is super
Right.
helpful. Let's go ahead and put it in the comments as this is super helpful by putting in a 1, so we can know that you all are saying, yes, you're talking to me directly. I see your comment. I see you. Yeah, so
Yes. So
continue.
that's step one. Step one is writing, catching your vision, right? So it's the catching. And look, I did my. I did my own workbook, right? I use my own workbook. I use my own stuff for my own goal setting process. Like, right. So first thing first is catching the vision, writing out your vision. Then you need to go through and create your roadmap. Imagine that. This is determining what the milestones are. What are those things along the way? What are the places along the way from where you are to where you go? So we pass through, going back to our traveling across country, our road trip, there are different cities along the way that we're going to pass through to get to our end destination. Those are your milestones. So you identify what those milestones are along your journey. Then one thing that people leave out, that's step 2 is identifying your milestones. Step 3 is figuring out what your why is. Because if you leave that part out, we all know achieving your goals, it's not easy, right? You're going to come up against some resistance. You're going to come up against some roadblocks. And if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, when that resistance shows up, you're less likely to keep going, because you'll find yourself, why am I even doing this? This is hard. I've got all this stuff coming at me. Why am I even bothering to do this?
That is super helpful. So when people find it uneasy,
Yes.
if I can interject, what ways are you recommending them getting support on how to create that roadmap so it can be a lot more easeful? Yes, the process may be a process of, being unease, but at least if they have a roadmap, at least they have a reason to continue to pursue it because it's a clear road versus having to continue doing a detour.
Yeah. Yeah. So you need to know all those pieces. Then you go through the process of really kind of establishing your priorities, because you have different you may have different goals. You may have personal goals, professional goals, lifestyle goals. They're all different types of goals. You want to prioritize those, because at some point your goals are going to compete with one another, and you need to know which one trumps the other, which one's most important, so you can stay focused, right? Then you actually go through the process of establishing your SMART goals. And in that process of establishing your SMART goals, one of the things that I have people do, and I have this in the workbook as well, is to go through the Eisenhower matrix. And I have you, the Eisenhower matrix is really a decision-making tool, but I've modified it a little bit to for the goal setting process, for you to think about the things in quadrant 1 is, what are the things that I need to do in order for me to achieve the goal? Right? What are the things that I actually need to do in order to achieve it? This quadrant 2 is, what are the things that I need to decide? Right? Sometimes we need to make some decisions about things depending upon what the goal is. I'm going to go to a simple goal, a weight loss goal, right? Because that's something that people tend to really easily relate to. What do you need to decide? Do you need to decide on a gym? Do you need to decide on a personal trainer? Do you need to decide what type of exercise you're going to do? What type of diet you're going to have? And when I say diet, I don't necessarily mean like, oh, I'm going on a low carb diet. I mean, what kind of foods, how do I want my diet to be structured? So what are the decisions that you need to make around your goal? The quadrant 3 is delegate. What are the things that I can delegate or bring someone else into the mix that may not necessarily be my strong suit? So Ruth, earlier you were talking about how you may be strong in one area, but you don't have your certification, or you may feel like, oh, well, I don't have this particular skill, so it might put me out of the running for a promotion. Well, play to your strengths. So many people focus on the areas of their perceived weakness instead of strengthening their strengths, right? So become the best at whatever you're good at. Strive to become the very best, the go-to person. Like, if you need to know about labor law, you go to Ruth Mack, or you go to Jane Smith, whoever it is. Like, you become the go-to person for that thing, and not necessarily forget about the rest, but then you bring in other people whose strengths complement yours, right? So they can go.
Absolutely. I like that. Is this helpful? Go ahead and put in the chat, put a number 7 in the chat room that this is definitely resonating with me. I definitely want to keep myself in alignment as far as
Yes.
when I'm creating my goals, not to wait to January the 1st, but start priming your cognitive part of your brain to be more creative, to be more clear as to what does that look like. Get yourself out of your comfort zone. And if you're needing
Yes.
more
Absolutely.
support and saying, Ruth, I'm like Ruth and Trasetta, I'm liking what I'm hearing and I do want to get more direction, go ahead and comment. And I will personally, myself and Trasetta, either way, we'll personally reach out to you on how you can make that roadmap. Trasetta is more of a game changer on that and getting you to be clear on moving that, just getting rid of the ladder and just getting into that elevator to accelerate in a clear path on
Yes. Love
developing
that.
those goals. Because
Yeah.
oftentimes we may have this, you might look at your goal and you're like, Ruth, I have this extraordinary goal, but is that roadmap or that system that you're currently in alignment to getting you to that goal? It's oftentimes we have to eliminate certain conditions and certain systems that we got accustomed to because by default it was handed over to you, and thinking that's the main way to go. So if you're wanting help on this, you all, go ahead and comment and saying that this is definitely valuable and I would love to see more and I would love to learn more. And we will definitely would love to partner with you all in getting you to the next chapter on what you're wanting to do in terms of breaking through before 2023 even hits. I'm excited about visions, and it sounds like
Yes.
you are, Trasetta, and it's very viable, especially now in this particular interesting time of the year where there's a lot of layoffs. The technology industry is really impacted because of whatever the case may be. But I don't want you all to believe that this is it for you. No, you want to
Yeah.
be able to be more productive and more clear as to what that path looks like for you. So if this is something that you definitely resonate with, let's go ahead and continue this conversation. Our goal is to help you just break that chain, break that condition, and see that crystal path of how do I develop that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
I just want to close out with the
Yes.
quadrant four of the decision Eisenhower matrix is about deleting. And I really want to make sure that we close out with that because that is like, what are the things that I need to get rid of? What are the things that I need to let go of? And that's really where the mindset piece that you were talking about earlier, Ruth, comes into play. It's like, what are the things that I need to really let go of? What mindsets, what limiting beliefs do I have that I need to release, that I, or even vocabulary, maybe things that I say that I need to delete out of my vocabulary that are not going to support me in the journey to my goals.
I love
And
it.
this is my favorite time of year. I use Thanksgiving weekend to do my goal setting for the year. At least start that process. Don't wait until, like Ruth said, don't wait until the new year to start thinking about what you want. Go ahead, start now, hit the ground running so that when January 1st comes around, or January 2nd, if you want to give yourself that grace, you are already prepared to go into the new year with a plan in hand so that
Yes.
you know that come December 31st, 2023, you will have achieved whatever you have set out to do.
Absolutely. And I'm going to close it. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing that. Here's the truth. You don't sow and reap at the same time. You must sow, allow it to grow, and then allow it to see yourself going through that journey. And then you will be able to reap the outcome
Yeah.
of what you were able to execute. You cannot do both at the same time. Give yourself permission to sow by creating those goals. And once you create those goals, that's when you start applying step by step process, proven steps that's going to allow you to be able to reap on those goals, be able to manifest those goals. But it is a certain method behind this madness, my friend. And I promise you, if you like to learn more, just stay tuned. We'll be back. Let us know if this has been helpful for you all. If you like to learn more, if you want to see more of these broadcasts, I definitely just comment below that this is super helpful. We will resume back. In the meantime, have an amazing, fun break while we then continue to prosper, continue to get more wealth and knowledge and wisdom and resources. If it's not If you find it's that the needle is not moving forward for you by yourself, give yourself an opportunity to invest in yourselves. Get supported, get connected with other experts who are 10 feet ahead of you. All right. In the meantime, have an amazing day and talk to you all soon. Cheers.
Bye for now.